we used to work the Tuesday night shift. Like everybody was sharing one night a week of the night shift because they couldn't hire a night guy because strippers are very hard to find, right? So me and Jimmy were working Tuesday nights, very late. So since about, I guess about February we were doing this, right? So every night we sit around and we say, what are we gonna do? I mean, this is awful. You know, you can't do this anymore, this is hard. And Jimmy said, why don't we bring in a union, you know? And of course, that was always my idea, too. Every place I ever worked, I want to bring in a union. I mean, I don't know why, I just came, you know. It's like, whenever you go to a job, it's the first thing you think about, you want to bring in a union, you know. But it never happens. But we used to sit around Tuesday nights. The two of us were the only two people in the plant, in our department, you know, and all the guys out in the presses were there to make a new plate, or if they have any problems on the presses, we're there to service them. So we talk about it. So spring went on and the summer came, and we said, all right, after the summer, right, we're going to bring in a union, that's all. He went down, he saw his brother-in-law, who was a delegate or something from some other place, and he got all the books, and we were reading them on Tuesday nights and whatnot. And we said, as soon as vacation is over, we'll bring in the union. Because there was all kinds of issues in the spring. They took away 2 sick days, because they decided they wanted to close the plant the day after Christmas and the day before New Year's, and they took away 2 sick days arbitrarily. They used to pay people to take religious holidays like Good Friday and the Jewish holidays, and one day they just abolished that. And there was little, this was in the spring. They announced it, posted it on the bulletin board. And so everybody was very upset. And this Herb Alexander came in, who was the boss, $100,000 a year salesman. And he came in and he gave this big speech, and everybody felt better. And then about a half an hour after he left, everybody realized he didn't say a thing, but they felt better. And the thing, it was dissolved. It was the end of it. But anyway, around middle of July, they installed these time clocks over everybody's light table and over every press, and by the camera department, the plate department. They installed time clocks, which worked in conjunction with a computer system, a $50,000 computer system called Stewie the Printer's Helper. And this thing is supposed to rationalize their business for them, right? You punch a card all day long. Everything you do, you punch in and out. You know, when you're working on a job, you punch in, you punch out. When you clean your glass, when you go to the bathroom, when you answer the telephone, you're supposed to punch. They came in, I mean, everybody got freaked out. It changes the way you work, right?
So it's not just in the morning and out at night. It's
no,
like
that's the way it was.
every little routine you got to punch.
Right. You didn't even have to punch out for lunch before, you know. This used to be a small business with one multi and a 29 press or something. Herb Alexander was, the boss, and if you needed $10, he lent you the money, all right? Now it's a multi-million-dollar business. I mean, over the years, it became incredible, and they sold it to Micklebury Biscuit Company that makes pot sausages and some cookies or something. I don't know what they make. Herb Alexander doesn't even own the place anymore. The first reaction is this thing is, we're going to lose our jobs because these clocks are going to figure out all the time that we waste, all the overtime that we steal and all, it's going to know, like, if I do a job one day, it takes me 3 hours and it takes me 5 hours the next, it's going to know. It's true, it does. It's all recalled. And if the bosses were in, they did it in a very heavy-handed way, but later on, it got back to them, there was some kind of a rebellion going on.
But one thing I want to get clear is you still had to punch in and out. I mean, this clock didn't have any way of monitoring you.
No, you have to do it. Oh, there was some guy that said, oh, we can beat this. Oh, we can beat it. And sure, you can get a system for it. There's no question about it. But initially, it was like you were sweating because there was a clock right over there. It's an insult. I mean, the guys think, we're craftsmen. I mean, this is the whole, you have to remember, there's a whole, everybody's susceptible. I mean, this is the way, we're paid, because we're craftsmen, we know our job, especially strippers. Pressmen I suppose too, but strippers in particular, I'm a stripper, so I know that, right? We have this attitude that we're the brains of the printing industry, They pay us because we understand the whole process from start to finish.
And in a slow period, but also in a slow period, you're going to screw off a lot more than when...
Yeah, they give you the job, and you give them the job when it's finished, and the way you do it and how long it takes you is your business. Well, there were scenes like the electrician, there was a lot of stuff with the electrician. He installed the clocks, and he put it on the switch, on the power line, that at night when they shut the lights off, the clock goes off, so you come in the morning and it's still 12 midnight, So this went on for, for a couple of days, and finally the production manager got panicky because he saw the clock was at the wrong time, and he came running in with the electrician. He installed it. He thought people had been tampering with the clock, and he installed a plug with a lock on it. You know, he didn't ask anybody anything. He just came right. He didn't know that the thing was on the main circuit breaker. So when they shut the lights in, so everybody was insulted. You know, he put a plug with a lock on it. You know, the guys were incredibly insulted. And that night, there was beginning to be talk of sabotage. You know, the next day we came in, the clock was in a garbage can in that room. It was in a I bought postcards in a bookstore. It was a Woody Guthrie drawing, punching the clock with a guy punching the clock. And I gave everybody one, and they all taped it on their clocks. It's still up. I have to admit that I was the least militant of the bunch, you know. I'm saying to myself, I mean, I know I want to destroy this clock because it's like driving me bananas, because I'm working like a lunatic. I'm constantly looking over my shoulder at the clock. Everything I do, I'm aware of. Time is passing, you know. And it's driving me nuts, and I hate it. I know I'm going, and I'm also thinking to myself, is it worth it to go to jail? You know, I mean, it was the beginning. It was very emotional. Everybody's thinking like this. But I said to myself, no, you can't do this. You destroy the clock. The next day there's another clock, and there's another guy at your light table too. So that doesn't mean anything, you know. So I'm being an old radical from the 60s and shit. What? We were gonna, one guy wanted to sell the clocks. He figured they were $200 a piece. There was like, everybody had different ideas, you know. So there was a big, I remember, this went on for about 2 days. And then the third day, there was lunchtime. Everybody's sitting around. So I remember I brought a sandwich in because I knew it was going to be important that day to be there at lunch. And everybody's talking, and I remember me and Jimmy, who had been talking about, you know, it was only July now. Me and Jimmy both said, look, there's only one way only one thing we can do. You want to really get to them? Bring in a union. That's it. You want to really hurt them. You know, and that was what the issue was. The guy was saying, they treat us without any respect at all. They put these things on, they consult us. They got the nerve. I mean, this incident with the plug was a very important thing, you know. I mean, where did they get the, you know, the balls to treat us like this? No respect at all. You want respect, me and Jimmy said, go to the union. Now, the guy, this is, like I said, I mean, this was like, I've been saying this all along, but nobody wanted to hear about it, you know. And I was even doubting myself that I was making any sense, because of the general antipathy to the union. It's an incredible bad reputation in the trade.
You had it too.
And everywhere where I've been in the trade, I never heard anything nice about the union.
As far as I'm concerned, this union, I've been in and out of it twice. It's never done anything for me except to hurt me, financially or otherwise. And
Be different to use a whip than...
yeah, it's a matter of standing still, and to me, I'm very sensitive about government controls, and that's the equivalent of accepting government controls, and I don't accept that. I don't buy it. I never did, and I probably never will. In other words, it's something like wage guidelines, and I don't care to be sold out. It's that simple. I do my own negotiating. I've always come out way ahead of the game, and I intend to continue doing it.
Right on.
And the guys in my department, as I said, were the core of opposition eventually to the union, even though they started the whole thing. And the press room was more or less 100% for the union.
People started talking about against the union and in favor of the union because they felt a lot of things were changing in the company. And they felt that we would have to band together in a unionized way so that we can be protected. And this is all how it started. I mean, there was a lot of disagreement among the men and a lot of changes, but there's still only a few persist that the union is no good, but I think it is good. And eventually, in my field, which I'm only classified as an operator, even though I can be an apprentice pressman, they